Ready? All right. Happy Eclipse Day, everybody. Before I launch into my Torah talk, I want to offer a kavanah for watching the eclipse today, April 8th, 2024. As we know, the sun is much larger than the moon. The sun is further away from the earth than the moon, so the moon appears to be larger. Today, many people will witness that the path of the moon and sun line up in front of us, causing an eclipse of the sun for a few minutes. Even though the world gets darker and we can't see the sun, we know it's still there. So here's the metaphor. The moon is like our negative self-talk, and the sun is like our true shining selves. Unfortunately, our inner moon eclipses our inner sun with more frequency than today's celestial eclipse. When we observe this once in a lifetime event, we can remember that our true nature, our inner sun, is always there. And now, on to Tazria, which I call the sanctity of birth. This week's Parsha, Tazria, is the fourth Parsha in the book of Kedoshim, holiness, also known as Leviticus. Holiness is a deep concept of separation for a higher purpose. Shabbat is a day of the week, but it's separate from other days by the nature of activities done and not done. Marriage is holy because the couple is part of a community, yet there are special aspects of intimacy that they keep separate. A more mundane way to understand holiness is like it's a framed picture on a wall. It's on the wall, but it's separate. And it's special. Kedoshim begins with descriptions of various types of karbanot, translated as sacrifices. Karbanot were of animals as well as meal offerings. The animals were owned and raised by humans. The animals represented their owners in these rituals. Prior to the ritual, the person would convey his energy to his animal who he raised and cared for. So he was imbuing the animal with his essence. The word korban means closeness. It's a ritual to come close to the source of existence. Think of tending your garden carefully to grow a delicious crop of vegetables that you then pick to make a nourishing meal for someone you deeply love. The ritual of preparation and conveyance creates a special bond between you and the person you feed. The same is true of these sacrifices. They were done to deepen the sacred bond of connection. In this week's Parsha, Tazria, we move from animal and meal offerings to human rituals that are concerned with direct human involvement. Tazria begins with the rules of childbirth. Rabbi Simon Jacobson of the Meaningful Life Center writes in his essay, The Secret of Giving Birth. The very word describes a mysterious process that carries the secret of all life and everything we cherish. Our own birth signifies the beginning of our journey on earth. Few wonders and delights compare to the birth of our children. The birth of ideas and concepts, the birth of movements and methodologies, the birth of technologies and medical breakthroughs, the birth of the dawn after a long night, the birth of a new era and a new world order. All beginnings are as enigmatic as they are fascinating. What existed before birth? What causes a new birthing? When things are running in a certain way, what suddenly changes to bring about that birthing? What ingredients fuel the dramatic change, the shift from the status quo, transitioning from a past state to reach a new state? The rabbis named the Parshiot of the Torah by the first most significant word in the Parsha. So the word Tazria is important to explore. Tazria contains the word zera, seed. Tazria is translated as giving seed or to conceive. How a mother conceives is important. Her state of mind, their circumstances, surround becoming pregnant are understood by many cultures worldwide to have a profound influence on the character and temperament of the child. Therefore, it's important for a pregnant woman to avoid excessive stress and to keep her mind on pleasant thoughts. Change your thoughts and you'll change your mind. This is related to speech. Thoughts are an internal speech. The sentence then continues, and gives birth to a male shall be tameh, ritually impure, for 7 days. That's Leviticus 12:1. Added to this is a waiting period of 33 days, which totals to 40. The Torah goes on to say that if she gives birth to a girl, the period of tameh, ritual impurity, is doubled. The number of days of tameh for a boy is 40 and for a girl 80. As we've already learned, numbers play a significant role in unpacking the deeper meanings of the Torah. 40 is a very well-known number in the Torah. The rain in the story of Noah lasted for 40 days. Moses stayed up on Mount Sinai to receive the Torah for 40 days. The children of Israel wandered in the desert for 40 years. And most significantly, gestation of a baby takes 40 weeks. Many have wondered, why does a woman who gives birth to a girl remain tameh for double the time as for a male child? This is because while in the womb, a baby girl develops her ovaries that gives her the potential of producing a baby once she grows up. This extra 40-day period is in honor of her. Now to explore the long misunderstood concept of tameh, often mistranslated as unclean, which is so far from its meaning. Rabbi Jonathan Kligler, in his book, Turn It and Turn It, quotes Baruch Levine, who suggests using the word susceptible rather than impure, and this makes so much more sense to me. When seen in this light, we understand that after giving birth, losing blood weakens a woman and in fact puts her at grave risk. Even in modern times, we understand how dangerous childbirth can be. The mortality rate for new mothers in the United States, an industrialized country, is still quite high. Imagine how much more vulnerable a new mother was in ancient times. This waiting period gives her time to recover, having the community support her. It's a beautiful thing. Most importantly, this waiting period gives mom time to bond with the baby. She has time to adjust to nursing her baby, a kind of a sacrifice in itself. Mother takes care of herself in order to give life to another, and then to sustain the baby's life with her own through her milk. How forward-thinking it was to give a woman time away from ritual duties and instead give her this protected time to bond with her new child, this brand new soul who's come to her. This is a time to be separate. It's a holy time, as described earlier. The concept of ritual impurity comes from the fact that blood contains the life force and therefore needs to be deeply respected. When my mother had her babies in a hospital, she stayed for a week to rest and recuperate. Now, women are given a few hours before they're booted out of the hospital, and only the wealthy have the luxury of hiring a baby nurse or housekeeper to assist them at home. We're still working on legislation for a more reasonable family leave policy. In our modern age, people live in a whirlwind, assaulted by news every 15 minutes, flying from one corner of the globe to another without touching the ground. Our attention is pulled in several directions at once with social media and texts from organizations, colleagues, and friends. With all this rushing around, how do we find time to feel our energetic connection to the life force in and around us? The ancients' lives moved at a much slower pace. Instead of flying from New York to Tel Aviv in 7 hours, the children of Israel spent 40 years crossing the desert. Without these distractions, the ancients had time to focus more fully on the wide dimensions of reality. The Torah describes this concentrated attention to the intricacies of life's energy. Taking the time to fully appreciate the deeper meaning of these words, we gain access to an as yet unfathomable dimension of possibility planted in our holy Torah. Debarti. Thank you.
Shemati.